Without warning, causing panic throughout the United States. And people are scrambling to figure out, how am I going to pay my bills? I need to go ahead and create other accounts to transfer funds, and I need to make sure I take care of all of my obligations, as this is suddenly happening abruptly with no warning and with no explanation. And I'm going to be sharing with you the latest, because we're hearing that this is growing and people are not sure why. And I can tell you for a fact that this is happening because this has recently happened to me. I suddenly had accounts shut down with no explanation and was scrambling to make sure that I could make the arrangements to not have my finances messed up as a result of this. So this is taking place here, and they're saying more of this is likely going to be on the way.
Banks have filed closure notices for multiple branches across the U.S. These major U.S. banks include Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase, TD Bank, and PNC. 2, the wave of closures is expected to intensify by the end of 2025. 3, why is this happening? Bank assets are dropping in value, and they don't have enough assets to pay off their debts. These assets include cash, investments, loans, and reserves. 3, tech changes have made it more difficult for banks to make ends meet. More specifically, mobile banking or online banking, and the cost to make it run is astronomical. Not to mention, there's more competition now. Farther reach for customers because they don't have to leave their houses, right? They can bank from inside their house or their phones. They don't have to go to the branches, and they have a variety of banks to choose from. So therefore, a handful of banks don't have a hold on the market like they used to. 4, following the 2008 crash, stricter banking regulations were put into place. That's why they didn't like the CFPB, because the CFPB was the watchdog for the banks. So that has been dismantled, kinda, sorta, but it's on life support at this point. The role of the CFPB was to enforce federal financial consumer laws and protect consumers. Notice I said was, because they want that thing gone or redefine how it works. And when they redefine how it works, the goal is not going to be to protect consumers. It's going to be to protect corporations. But I digress. And number 5, economic factors such as high interest rates, recessions, and housing market crashes have all contributed to slow growth, therefore contributing to the bank closures, because with businesses, it's always about the bottom line, not the customer. But you control the businesses, because if you're not a customer, they can't run.
Yeah, it's been a...
Yeah, I just wanted you to hear from the people a little bit. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, HaKodash. Send double honors to our apostles and elders here, great millstone, peace and blessings to the Lord's hopefully elect. So about 5 or so banks, a lot of banks are starting to close their close locations in certain places. And best believe if a bank closes location, it's not going to open anywhere else. So people are saying they're losing their accounts. In fact, one of his just recent videos he just put up is about Cash App, saying that Cash App is closing down their accounts. So, and this is all going to keep bubbling up because America is based off of debt. So as long as debt is accumulated and people can't eventually pay their debts, things are just going to burst, which is going to lead to houses not being paid, which is foreclosed. It's just going to sit there. All these bills and all these things racking up, stuff not getting paid, stuff isn't circulating the way it's going to circulate or has been circulating, which just leads to stuff backing up, a big bubble that eventually will pop. So these banks are shutting down, and I think it's good for the brothers and sisters out there to be aware of this. So in this world, you got to remember that things are going to come crashing down, and Esau Edom will, in a lot of cases, cause things to speed up so that they can introduce a digital currency. So you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That's just some words of wisdom. In general, this is why you have to come back to the truth and just invest in your future self, in the spirit, and invest in your spiritual bank account, which is in heaven, because you got to understand this place is going to pass away real soon. Matthew 6:19, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doeth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So this is why you don't set your treasures on the earth, because your bank accounts get hacked. It happened to me twice. Your accounts could just shut down. They don't have to give you no notice. And yes, if they just shut down, if a bank just shuts down, all your money in there is gone. They don't have to give you nothing. It's part of those, I believe, I'm pretty sure it's a part of the terms and agreement you agree to when you bank with them. The moment something happens, it's your fault because you agreed to, well, how do I say it's not your fault, but they're not liable to do anything because in the sense you agreed to bank with them. That happened to Usain Bolton about a year or so ago. He had like all of his money, I mean millions, in one bank account, whereas that bank account said that they would only insure up to 100,000, and then he said one day it was just all gone. So he was basically fighting to try to get his money back, but on paper we technically will cover you for 100,000, but I think he put his whole life savings in that one bank, and this is why you can't. First of all, spiritually, you can't put your trust in this place. This isn't just your rest. Okay, the banks are still owned by other corporations, which is owned by wicked elite, high rich elite people. They're still based off of the economy and how things are going. And when the economy tanks, there's going to be some shakeups. There's going to be some problems. They're actually letting bankers go, bank workers go. Look, they're letting people in the post office go. They're letting people in the Fed go. All these things is bringing the squeeze. These positions that people thought that they would never be touched, that they would always be safe, is getting touched. It's getting let go. It's getting closed. These banks, you probably thought that it would always be there. They're starting to close, and as well as people's closing accounts. So people are wondering where my money got to go. Where's my money going? We're all everything's pushing towards the digital mark of the beast, which is going to be, the digital currency leading to the mark of the beast, which is that RFID microchip. So it's just good knowledge to have moving forward. And, what I advise is don't have all your eggs in one basket, especially if you got one bank that's cool, you got the direct deposit thing going, but don't have all your eggs in one basket. Maybe have another account or have some cash, things like that. Because a lot of people out there are getting left with nothing because their banks shut down. So, and like I said, it happened to me twice where my bank account was hacked. But luckily, I didn't keep all my eggs in one basket. So until they got that squared away, which they did, I wasn't completely asked out. But that just put a reminder with me like, yep, this is why you don't put trust in your bank. Because literally, it'll just happen. One day you just go swipe and it won't go through. And then you check and it's just zero. And you just sit there and off for a minute like, what the heck? And you got this feeling, because, when you feel that you got, it's a horrible feeling when you see that somebody just cleaned out something or somebody cleaned out your house or cleaned out your car. It's a horrible feeling. But you find out bank was hacked or whatever, and they took care of me. But because I didn't put all my eggs in one basket, I was okay. So that's just some words of advice. As 1 Corinthians 7, verse 29, but this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they weep not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away. So you use the world, you don't abuse it. Part of abusing it is putting all of your, like I said, putting all your trust in this society. Sometimes doing a little bit too much. You gotta actually listen, when people give advice on certain things. You don't want to be one of those people, oh gosh, I've been bank with this bank my whole life. I know ain't nothing gonna happen. Maybe you should consider like, okay, the world is coming crashing down. The economy is gonna tank. Maybe I should have something, make something else go happen just in case. That's being wise, right? The people in this world, they just think, hey, what's the problem? I go to work, I got one bank, my money ain't going to work at the bank. The bank can hold your money. The bank can hold it hostage and say you can't get it unless you get this chip, which is exactly what they're going to do. So maybe it's not wise to have everything in one go. You know what I'm saying? because eventually it's going to be behind a digital paywall. That's what the celebrities of our world is going to catch them as a snare, because they think ain't nothing going to ever happen to their money. I got money in the bank. Yeah, well, you could lose it, or they can just lock it behind a digital paywall. So you got to get the chip. And they didn't sacrifice their whole life for their playing basketball, football, being an actor, whatever it is. You think they're going to let that go? No, they're going to take that chip so they can have access to their money, because they put all of their treasures in the earth. That's why you got to put your treasures in heaven. That's where you're going to be able to pull from your spiritual bank account in the time of evil, in the time of hardship. That's the whole point. And can't nobody take that from you. And that's what we're doing. So you want to invest in your spiritual future, you want to invest in your future self. That's what you want to do. Tobit chapter 4, verse 7. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thy eyes be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor, and from the face of Yahweh shall not be turned away from thee. If thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have but little, be not afraid to give according to that little. For thou layest up a good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity. Because that alms doeth deliver from death, and suffereth not to come to darkness. For alms is a good gift unto all that giveth, in the sight of the Most High Yahweh. It also says it's a synod. So when you do your good acts, in general, because an alms can be a gift. It could be something you give, or it could just be a good deed that you've done. You do these things in hopes that the Lord sees it, and you building up your spiritual bank account, because it doesn't have to always just be money that you give. I mean, sometimes it could be tangible things, maybe some clothes or whatever. Sometimes just giving your body as a service, offering help, doing these things. You do it because you believe the Lord sees it, Lord willing, the Lord remembers it, so that when the evil days comes, which is coming, he remembers me and protects me. This is you doing these things spiritually. The Edomites, they don't believe in that. They don't believe in alms, right? Because they look at it tangible. They say, well, what's my reward for helping you? Or what's my reward for helping them or giving to there's no reward. I don't get anything out of it, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep my hands closed from the poor, or I'm not going to go out of my way to assist or do any of those things. They don't believe in that. And that's really any unbeliever or non-believer. Don't got to be the heathen, but, the heathen is a good example, right? Sirach 17:22. The alms of a man is as a senate with him, and he will keep the good deeds of man as the apple of the eye, and give repentance to his sons and daughters. Yeah. So that's part of building up your spiritual bank account. That's why I read those scriptures about the alms. Just adding to the fact that you should be more concerned about your spiritual bank account and not so much the worldly bank accounts. But I would take heed to this info and try not to, if you can, make some wiser moves. Try not to keep all your eggs in one basket. You want to kind of, if you can, spread it out a little bit. And there's nothing wrong with having cash on hand either, because you just don't know. You just don't know. You know what I mean? The banks can go first and then the dollar, or the dollar could go first and then the banks. So use wisdom. And let's hear what he says at the end here.
The slow roll. It's been a slow build up. When I say they've been kicking the can down the curb, this is what I mean. It's been a slow, gradual process towards the collapse. And we're not even there yet. It's going to get worse than this. But it's going to continue to slow roll until there's no hope left. Then they can present. Y'all know what I mean. Family, what y'all think about?
He tapped his palm and he tapped his forehead because he said earlier the chip, because he believes the mark of the beast is the chip too. So you see how everybody's connecting the dots here. This is how we know that we have the true understanding of Revelation chapter 13. As long as you understand it, then that's what matters. Sure, Great Millstone, the group that pushed the mark of the beast the most, right? The chip, the understanding. What matters as long as you understand it. If you understand that chip is the mark of the beast, then you're going to prepare yourself spiritually, because that's what prophecy does. This is why it's so important to tell the truth, speak the truth, because it will alarm you and cause you to be aware and operate accordingly. First Corinthians 14:3, but he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. So prophecy speaks, it edifies, it exhorts, and it comforts. This is why it's so important to have the correct breakdown of Revelation, the 13th chapter. If you take heed and you believe that with your heart of hearts, then that means you are in the right spirit and you will move accordingly. Lord's will if you're a part of the elect. For those who don't believe that, well, when times like this happen, these are going to be the ones that's going to be trying to act surprised when something happens. They closed my account. They did this. They do that. My money. It's like, what are they doing this for? Well, if they understood that the mark of the beast is chipped, then they would understand why they're doing this. They can then take heed and then say like, okay, let me try to make some wise moves. Maybe I shouldn't put all my money in the bank. Let me keep up with the news. Let me kind of spread my money around. Let me spread this around. Let me get this going. Let me get that going. That's using wisdom. But those who are blind, they're just going to just say, oh, I ain't got to worry about nothing. These are the ones that's going to be caught off guard. Don't let that be you. Shalom.